This pandemic has been a very difficult time for people and businesses throughout BC. And in particular, this last week with the additional circuit breaker measures, it's been particularly hard on some sectors of our economy. And of course, as a province, we're doing everything we can to ensure that people are protected and are safe during this challenging time. But what I'm here to tell you today is that we're going to make it through this, and we're here to support. I want to start off by acknowledging the amazing work done by our small businesses, the work they're doing to keep themselves safe, their community safe, their employees safe. We appreciate all the efforts that they've put in during such a challenging time. While I've been proud of the work that businesses have done to keep British Columbians safe, I've also heard how hard these new orders are on some sectors of our economy. And my family ran a business for over a decade, and that was during normal times. And I can't imagine the stresses and pressures that businesses are facing during this challenging time. And that is why today, to support 14,000 businesses that have been impacted, we are establishing a $50 million circuit breaker business relief grant. I want to thank the public service for the incredible work that they've been doing in order to turn around a recovery grant program within a week. I believe that's probably history in the making for a program to be developed in 1 week. And I want to thank the public service for their incredible work, working over the long weekend to ensure that these critical supports are there for the businesses who need it the most. This grant will provide businesses up to $10,000 in one-time funding to help with fixed monthly costs like wages, rent, maintenance, and utilities, or to address unexpected costs such as perishables that restaurants may have purchased. Applications will be open next week, and as of today, businesses can go on www.gov.bc.ca/business relief to sign up for notification when applications are open. I wanted to share this news with you today so that businesses know that this grant funding is on its way and that we are committed to helping them through such difficult times. Of course, there's other programs available for businesses. We have the Small Business Recovery Grant Program, we have a digital marketing boot camp, and we have the Launch Online, as well as a whole host of other measures. Just this week, we've announced additional measures. Of course, we just announced the Circuit Breaker Relief Grant Program. We are reintroducing the growler sales to help many of our breweries. And of course, today, PST rebates for capital investments to support business recovery is live as well. I want to thank the many associations that have worked with us tirelessly over the last week to make this grant possible. The incredible amount of work and the advocacy they're doing on behalf of their members is very much appreciated, and certainly as a minister responsible, I've appreciated all the feedback that they've been relaying back to us on the supports that are needed. We have seen businesses respond proactively to keeping people safe. But we know there are a small number of bad actors out there. So I have one message to those businesses. If you are closed or had your licenses revoked due to PHO non-compliance, you are not eligible for this grant. And I want to thank the 99.9% of small businesses across this province who are doing the right thing to keep their community safe and keeping their employees safe. Really appreciate their efforts and their commitment to work together to address the challenges of the pandemic. We all have a role to play to support BC businesses, and part of that is to buy local, to buy BC. But most important thing we can do is to bend the curve. So I implore everyone to follow the guidelines that Dr. Henry has given us to bend the curve so we can all do our part. And in closing, I'll say that our restaurants need us the most. Our small businesses need us the most right now. They're the ones we go to when we need scholarships or sponsorships for our sports teams, and they're going through a difficult time. So please shop local, buy local. If you're going to order a meal, please go pick it up, and don't just wait the weekend. Go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's when they need the support the most. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions from reporters.
Thank you very much, Minister. For the media on the line, please press *1 if you'd like to queue to ask a question. That's *1 to ask a question, and we will allow those of you who do get called upon to ask one question and one follow-up. As a reminder, please unmute your phones. Once you've queued up, you will not be audible until we call upon you. We will start today with Lisa Eusda from News 1130. Go ahead, Lisa.
Hi, Minister. One thing I've heard from businesses this morning is they're concerned that the wage subsidy program is scheduled to end in June. Do you have any hope for them on the horizon that it could be extended?
Yeah, certainly. I've heard that from the many business associations as well, and we've been working with the federal government to ensure that that program is able to be extended. We know that we're not out of the pandemic yet, and in BC, we're very proud. We have one of the highest per capita supports for people and businesses in Canada, but those supports are needed until we're fully out of this pandemic, and we're not. And so certainly we're urging the federal government to do what they can to ensure that these programs be extended a little bit longer.
You have a follow-up, Lisa?
Yes, and another thing that I heard from some restaurants is going into summer, they have staff that they bring in from other countries on different types of work visas, one with the French government that we do, but they're talking about the prohibitive cost of the quarantine. Can this be used for that aspect of it? Is there some sort of grant available for the additional cost for bringing staff in now, staff that are vital for their businesses to run?
Yeah, we're leaving the use of this grant to the business to decide. We know there are many needs. We know overwhelmingly every business that I've spoken to in the last week in the association that the businesses don't want to lose their employees. Many of them are like family members to them, and so they're going to do what they can to keep as many employees as possible. We certainly know that sectors that rely on workers to come or from overseas are feeling considerable pressures. So we put in very early on supports to help businesses with the quarantine process, to help with the financial costs, and it's important to do that because it's important to keep the community safe as well. So we've been providing those supports to many in the farming community. We're going to continue to do that as well as we go forward.
Next, we'll go to Shannon Patterson from CTV. Go ahead, Shannon.
Oh, hi there. So is this, because it's called the circuit breaker grant, is this just for businesses directly impacted by the March 30th restrictions, which would essentially just be restaurants and some gyms, or can any small business apply for this regardless of what they sell or what their business is?
So businesses that need financial supports that have been impacted by the pandemic overall already have a whole host of measures that they have. We have the small and medium-sized recovery grant program, which is having considerable uptake from businesses that are impacted. We have the digital boot camps, the launch online funding, the property tax relief, the supports for lower liquor prices for restaurants in particular. So there's a whole host of supports, but this is for businesses that have been particularly impacted by the circuit breaker. So businesses that applied for the small business recovery grant that now have been impacted by this recent circuit breaker contract don't need to reapply. We will be proactively reaching out to them via email so that to see if that they have a need and they will not need to reapply. Even businesses that have applied for the Small and Business Recovery Grant Program that haven't got an answer whether they're approved or not, they also don't need to reapply. We will also be proactively reaching out to them to help them to get these dollars as soon as possible.
You have a follow-up, Shannon?
Yeah, what is the criteria for being accepted then? And is it possible that you'll get more applications than you have money?
We have 14,000 businesses that we think will see the benefit of this program. The process is very streamlined. We are asking for businesses to provide proof of their business operating in BC, whether that's a liquor license or a BC their business license number, and we're asking them to provide us their deposit account information. And so it's a very streamlined process. It's very simple. It will be scaled according to how many employees you have. Even if you're a yoga studio and you have just yourself that works in that, there's dollars available for you. And if you have 160 employees and you've been impacted, there's dollars available for you as well.
Next, we'll go to Derek Penner, the Vancouver Sun. Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a little bit more about the criteria. how did you come up with a $10,000 limit for each grant? And
Yeah, so we worked closely with the business community on the criteria. This was something that they've recommended, and I want to again thank them for their advocacy, and they made it clear that they wanted it to apply to businesses that were in operation before the pandemic, but as well as businesses that opened up during the pandemic. And so that's the great thing about this program. It's available to businesses that opened during the pandemic. If they were open February 1st this year, they can apply for these dollars, and so we were responding to the request that they made. And of course, 14,000 businesses, the way we've scaled it up, we estimate it's about $50 million.
You have a follow-up, Derek?
So will this also be open to businesses that haven't qualified for previous assistance because they haven't been open for so long, and not just for the circuit breaker period?
Correct. Businesses that have opened up during the pandemic can apply. The scaling of how much dollars each business gets depends on how many employees you have. Businesses that were open prior to the pandemic can use the amount of employees they had prior to the pandemic in their application process. So how many employees they had when they were fully functioned and prior to the pandemic, and businesses that opened up during the pandemic will use how many employees they had at the time of the circuit breaker, or at the time of the closures.
Next, we'll go to Richard Zessman from Global. Go ahead, Richard.
Minister, what do you say to workers who are looking at this and saying, what's there for me, especially considering that they're not sure how long they're going to be out of work for, based on the fact that these orders are expected to be extended?
Yeah, and many businesses that I've spoken to will use these dollars to keep more of their employees. Again, that's why we built the flexibility in the program, so that they can use these dollars to keep their workers on their payroll. Overwhelmingly, every single small business I talk to, the first thing they mention is their employees, and them wanting to keep their employees and finding ways to keep them, because many of them are part of their families. And so that's what these dollars will be there for. Of course, we're also supporting businesses with other means. There's the Canadian Emergency Wage Service supports, so that they can continue to keep their employees, and so we encourage them to do so if they fiscally can. There's also the federal EI program, which has been expanded during COVID, and for those that don't qualify, they can also receive the Canadian Recovery Benefit, and so there are supports brought by the federal government to support those workers.
Follow-up, Richard?
Can you explain why the money will not go to those businesses who are not complying with the order? And does it need to be businesses who have had their license stripped, or is it any business that continues to operate even if they haven't been punished for it?
Well, first off, I would say that overwhelmingly disgusted by the behavior of these handful of businesses. But I prefer to spend my energy during this pandemic on those businesses that are doing the right thing. And that's 99.9% of those businesses. And so I want to thank them. I want to say thank you for doing your part during such a challenging time. And the businesses that are in non-compliance, they can apply for this program. We are not going to be supporting bad behavior, and certainly there's a handful of them that have been prominent in the news, and this program is not available for them.
And next we'll go to Rob Shaw from Czech. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, hi, Minister. The fact that the money is coming from the Small Business Recovery Grant Program, is that an admission, I guess, that you can't spend the money that's in that program? Or I'm just trying to understand why you would take it from there when other businesses are saying they need it, and you're saying there's a lot of uptake in there. And why not come up with $50 million of new money for people here?
Well, those that understand the process of government will know, like yourself, Rob, that it takes a considerable amount of time to go through the process in government, and we wanted to act fast. And so the fastest way was to use the dollars that are already approved, that we already had on the books. And so that's why we chose to go down this route. We have seen a considerable uptake in applications, and I am very confident that that money will be used up to 100% to support businesses in BC.
You have a follow-up, Rob?
Sure, I guess. But you are taking it away from the original program, which was supposed to be for small businesses who say they need it, and then reallocate to certain types of businesses. And I guess I'm just wondering if that's an admission that you couldn't spend the money in the original program by the new timeline that you've given yourself.
I would say, Rob, that the pandemic has been changing, and so has been our response. From the beginning, where the needs were for businesses are now and where the needs are. And so we've been flexible and we've been nimble from the beginning, and this is just another example of us being so. This money is going to go to small businesses. It the most right now. And so I'm proud of the program. I'm proud of our staff. The ability to launch a program in 1 week is, I think, part of history. And I know that it's going to go a long way to support many businesses in our province.
Great. We have time for one more question. We're going to go to Stanton from Global Vancouver Island. Go ahead, Kylie.
Hi. Is there any expected help for nonprofit charities like food banks that have been struggling through this as well?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Kylie. The need is great. Every time we are able to support one group, we understand. And certainly there's a lot of not-for-profits who are doing amazing work that are feeling the pressures. And it's something that we're looking at as a government. Of course, today's a lot of not-for-profits have been applying for the Launch Online grant program to set up their online presence so that they get online donations. But of course, we know there's more needs, and we're going to continue to find ways to support as many not-for-profits as well as businesses as we can.
You have a follow-up, Kylie?
Yeah. If the circuit breaker orders are extended beyond April 19th, will this grant?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on whether it's going to be extended or not. It's a little bit out of my hands. I would just urge the public to do the right thing, follow the guidelines so that we can bend this curve. It's good for us as a society, it's good for our businesses, and we'll continue to monitor to see how the pandemic and how the orders go. Of course, Dr. Henry is going to take the advice from her consultants and all the people that are working with her and make the best decision possible. I support her decision making 100%, and we'll continue to respond to needs as they arise.